Why didn't somebody just kill Stalin?
Yeah.
He was going to kill them all. Why didn't they just kill him and save themselves? So during the 20s, Stalin resigns 6 times.
Yeah.
3 times in writing and 3 times orally, between 23 and 28. And every time, those guys around him beg him to stay.
Right.
So not only do they fail to try to push him out, but when he himself volunteers to go out, they beg him to stay. And then he kills all of them. Within 10 years, every one of them, just with a few exceptions, is dead. And so, geez, what were those guys thinking? It's clear that Stalin was not Stalin yet. If they knew in the 20s that in the 30s he was going to murder them all, maybe they would have acted the way you said. So he becomes Stalin in this process. He's not Stalin yet.
Yeah.
That's a really important argument that I make in the book. But today you look at Putin. Putin is ruining Russia. Why doesn't somebody just assassinate him? Xi Jinping, he's hurting China. He's making China enemies everywhere around the world when China was, until recently, popular. China was 75% favorable globally. Now it's 25% more or less favorable globally. That's Xi Jinping's doing. How can the elites around him let him do that? Around Putin, the people are falling out of windows. Instead of falling out of windows themselves, why don't they push him out the window? Khamenei in Iran.
Right.
He's brought ruin on the country. Why don't they take him out and try to save themselves and save the country, not just themselves? In other words, be patriotic as well as self-survival. And the answer is, it rarely happens. One, you have a collective action problem.
But sorry, why doesn't this prevent the Tsar? Is like, people are trying to kill the Tsar constantly. They're killing Russian ministers in the Tsarist regime. And I think
Hitler, there are more assassination attempts on Hitler, some of which come very close, than by
also
far
on Mussolini,
on Stalin.
But never against Stalin. Why is that?
Well, Stalin is the guy who is building and personifying the system. The people around Stalin can see that he is unusually good at dictatorship. He is just carrying this entire system on his back through thick and thin, killing enemies, liquidating the kulaks, collectivizing agriculture, building a military-industrial complex, defeating Hitler in war. I mean, how much better with the system's logic, not from humanity's logic, not from the point of view of the kind of values that you and I share. How much better are you going to do than Stalin? And so there is a way in which they're pygmies and he's Stalin. So of course they know that they can't do what he does. And if they try to unseat him, they might save their lives, but they might lose the system and the radiant future, the overthrow of capitalism, the abundance, peace, paradise on earth. That's a big move to lose if you believe in that, if your life is about that and you're dedicated to that. But in addition, you have a collective action problem that's really important. So let's suppose that I'm in a Stalin regime with you. You're a functionary and I'm a functionary. And Stalin's collectivizing agriculture, which means he's destroying the productivity. And we're going to be poor all the way through the Brezhnev period. We're going to be importing wheat, even though we have this gigantic agricultural belt, wheat belt. Some people knew in real time that this was self-harm. And I come to you and I say, this Stalin guy, he's wrecking everything. We got to take him down. You agree with me. But you know what? You don't know. Maybe I've been sent by Stalin to test your loyalty. Maybe I'm provoking you to reveal your disloyalty. Maybe I'm not being sincere. So instead, you agree with me, but instead of saying, yes, let's do it, immediately you run to Stalin and you say that this Kotkin guy is talking behind your back about how we need to take you down. Because you're going to preserve self-preservation. You're going to preserve yourself because you don't trust. There's a lack of trust inside these dictatorships. If you knew that Stalin hadn't sent me, for sure, 100%, you would say, you know, you're right. You got a point there. What can we do about this? But you know that Stalin is constantly doing these provocations, or you suspect he is. And you know that he's got people, provocateurs, who are around the system doing things like this. And the secret police are listening in on your phone conversations. And the driver of your car works for Stalin, doesn't work for you, and is reporting any overheard conversations in the car. And the maid in your apartment is also working for the secret police and reporting up the chain of command. So the system that you're in enmeshes you in this distrust, in this surveillance and distrust. So what looks like, geez, let's just take him down and save our own life, let alone save the country, looks like, yes, it's logical, but that's not the kind of lives that they led. We would think that based upon the kind of lives and the system that we live in.
But there's a bunch of revolutionaries who try to kill the Tsar and sometimes succeed. And they're just like random people. They're not like people in the regime. They're just random people.
Yes.
Why doesn't the Kulak, one of the 100 million enslaved people...
The Tsar has less security than Stalin does.
But didn't you say in the Kata that in 1928 he had like one bodyguard when he would go to his dacha?
The bodyguard stuff increases over time.
Right.
But the regime is walled off from the people. Stalin doesn't go out in public. He's not one of these populist types in public who's bathing in the adulation of the crowd. He's in the office. He's at the dacha. He's at the party meeting. He's at the party congress. And so he's not putting himself at risk in these. But even so, it is paradoxical because when Hitler goes to make a speech, every year Hitler makes a speech in Munich.
Yeah.
And it's known when he's going to make the speech. It's announced in the paper. And there are a couple of assassination attempts on Hitler, one of which takes place in the hall where someone plants a bomb.
Yeah.
It's a working class guy, plants a bomb there. And the bomb goes off, it blows up. But Hitler left the hall more quickly than anticipated based on the schedule that people thought he would be there longer. It was quicker, he was out. And so the bomb exploded and he survived. There are military officials who try to kill Hitler famously in 1944. They plant a bomb under the table, which also goes off and almost gets him, but doesn't get him during a military briefing. And so there are attempts on Hitler's life, both from the society and from inside the regime. And Stalin doesn't have this. In fact, the people inside the regime are killing themselves. When they see that Stalin is leading them down a blind alley of murder and ration tickets in Gulag, they kill themselves rather than kill Stalin.
Yeah.
So again, there's something special about the mentality of these communists. And there's also something about Stalin's success as well as the threat that he represents to these individuals. Still, it is mysterious because there were opportunities and people didn't take up the opportunities. The very few... there's no serious assassination attempt on Stalin. The very few times when they accuse somebody of doing an assassination, for example, there were shots fired at a boat when Stalin was on holiday in the South. It was not because Stalin was in the boat. It was because the boat was not in the system as marked, as allowed to use that waterway. And so they were just performing their duties as border guards.
That's funny.
Shooting at the boat, and it got dressed up as an assassination attempt, and people were arrested and executed, and it was publicized as such, but they didn't know that Stalin was in the boat.
If you enjoyed this clip, you can watch the full episode here and subscribe for more clips. Thanks.